It's been 2 years, exactly this time, the 7th of October in 2023. You had Hamas terrorists who attacked Israel from land, sea, and air and massacred 1,200 innocent people, abducted more than 250. For the past 2 years, Israel has been attempting to bring back as many of those 250 hostages as possible. We are told 48 are still in the custody of Hamas, perhaps only 20 still alive. But the retaliatory action that's been taken by Israel, that's left over 67,000 people, unfortunately dead, more than half women and children. The battle still rages on. There are many questions. Will there be peace? Can there be peace? The effort that's on at that resort at Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, will it bring peace, this Trump 20-point agenda? And will Hamas have to leave the Gaza Strip for peace to prevail? Joining me are my colleagues on this special broadcast. Pranay Upadhyay joins us, all my other colleagues with me. Geeta, your take on what's happening right now, the effort for peace, and will Hamas have to let go of Gaza for peace?
Well, the Hamas will have to disarm itself. Of course, the talks are underway, but it's a question of trust. There is a huge trust deficit when it comes to Israel, and whether if Israel will go through the promises made in the deal, should there be an agreement between Hamas and Israel. And that's where the matter is stuck in Egypt, where complete disarmament is something they're still reluctant about, uncomfortable about. And the promises that are being made by Israel. But on the other hand, hostage release, first and foremost, is something that America and Israel are looking at with a lot of pressure on Netanyahu in Israel. So that's where it is at today. But the larger picture, 2 years hence, we're looking at 70,000 Palestinians dead. 20,000 of them are children. Is this what it takes for peace to and normalcy to return?
And there's neither peace nor normalcy. But
and I don't know if there will be.
And we don't know whether there will be. But Maria, if I could quickly draw you in, Hamas will have to leave Gaza if there is to be peace. Is this the only way forward? How do you look at this?
Yes, absolutely, it has to. I'm being reminded of that doctor who was there for the humanitarian work, Dr. Ala al-Najjar, who was a Palestinian physician, who spoke about the situation in Gaza and actually gave us the image, which is harrowing, and how everyone seems to have been completely stripped of basic human dignity. It has to, that peace has to prevail, even if it comes at the cost of Hamas leaving Gaza. But there has to be a way forward out of this crisis. And let's look at the Palestinian cause here in a more sympathetic manner. I think the children of Gaza, the women of Gaza, deserve an answer here.
Oh, absolutely. Preeti, is there lack of sympathy or not adequate sympathy in the way Palestinians are suffering? Or is it time for the entire world to actually unite and say, let Hamas leave, perhaps there will be peace?
You know, Gaurav, is it time is actually, I think, that's laughable, because at least where I come from, you know, one can get into discussions and debates of displacement, occupation, decades over, and we can keep talking about the conflict. But if you're human today and you do not recognize with what is happening right now in Gaza and don't call it for what it is, which is genocide, then I don't think any of us, even with the view of being a journalist, can sit here. What is happening is genocide. You know, one might claim the Hamas started it, they lit the fire, or didn't start it, but at that point of time aggravated a conflict which was already on. And then it's for them, you know, it was coming. But I am sorry. I think we haven't said enough. I think as humanity, you know, I want to get, you know, if you want to get into cliches, as a race, we need to be ashamed that we have sat through what we have sat through and looked the other way. And I am not surprised, because there are political compulsions today, as you know, and it might not be diplomatically correct for me to say it, It
No, no,
might
say
not be
it.
politically
Democratic
correct. No,
Newsroom.
I will say a few things.
Yes.
I don't think it's politically correct for me to say it. Leave alone what's happening in Gaza, which I think is nothing but genocide. But what are we doing? We are now quoting the foreign minister of Taliban, where we know exactly what is happening to the women of Taliban.
Okay.
When there was an earthquake, women were not even pulled out of the debris. Why?
They're not allowed to
Why
touch
not,
women.
Forget about
Okay.
women are not
Okay,
allowed to speak.
Taliban is
Women
another
are,
debate.
No,
I'll come to
it's
Taliban.
not.
I'll come
It's
to
not.
Taliban. Let's
It is
stay
the
on
same.
Gaza.
It's humanity. It
Okay.
is humanity. Women are not allowed to speak. Women are not allowed to hear music. Women are not allowed to be seen.
Okay.
Women are not allowed to be rescued.
Okay,
But
Pranay wants to come in because
do
today
what we do.
we will debate Taliban at another time, but right now it's Gaza. Respond.
Gaurav, as far as the Gaza case is concerned, definitely it's a humanitarian crisis. But the history tells us that historically, the citizen perspective or the geopolitical perspective have always differed. The fate of common people have always been decided in the chambers and the tables where they do not have any representation, and we know how the boundaries have been drawn on this planet and how people's fate have been decided. If you see, Preeti was talking about the humanitarian crisis. Did anyone talk about the humanitarian crisis of Afghanistan? How many people died since US invasion? Did anyone talk about the Iraq invasion and the humanitarian crisis of Iraq? Over 2 lakh people died. In over 1,76,000, as per the accounts
Official
of many official number is 1,76,000 people lost their life in Afghanistan. Were they not Muslims, or were they not common people? Who made,
So
who
you're
make
saying
the
these are all
distinction?
agenda peddlers?
These are, look, geopolitics will always go by the real politic. They will decide their own agenda. Politics always, they think with their own perspective.
Okay.
But people's perspective will always remain. So is anyone concerned about the plight of Gaza people? And as far as the Hamas is concerned, forget about the name. But the same sentiment. After 2 years, will that sentiment go away? No.
Yeah, because there were celebrations, sadly, even today, Siddharth.
Absolutely.
It's so painful. Everyone has sympathy for the people of Palestine and people who are suffering. But in that same Gaza Strip, there are chaps who are celebrating the massacre of Israelis
In January,
not
Gaurav, how
acceptable.
did they release?
No,
How
that's
did they
not
release the
acceptable,
hostages?
Gaurav.
Yeah.
Nobody's
they
celebrating
gave
the
goodie
death
bags.
of anyone, and
the-
they should be
some
condemned.
people in
They
Palestine
should
are.
be condemned, Gaza.
Mementos,
They should
goodie
be
bags. Is
condemned.
it the way they are going to? They are using it as a moment of their victory. Whatever you will do, we will say. Gaza has become a face of resistance. So resistance means like they are going to resist. Whatever Israel might be doing, Israel has also lost in last 2 years the intent with which they started this operation.
Okay.
Like eliminating Hamas, did they able to eliminate? No. As if you go and see the idea of social media tweets, it says that even today, Hamas has the capacity to launch a rocket. This remains the reality after 2
They
years.
already
Okay.
did.
And they did.
And
they did.
which is what Macron said. 25,000 soldiers at the beginning of the war, they still have 25,000 commandos. Nothing has changed on the ground
but
for
Siddharth,
Israel.
which means even after 2 years, the world hasn't been able to come together on one single platform to say, get rid of Hamas. There can be no room for terror. There has to be zero tolerance for terror.
And zero tolerance for civilian
You
killing.
know, the tragic loss of civilian life in the last 2 years is absolutely horrific. There can be no two stands on that. The fact is that Hamas launched a unprecedented, brutal attack only against civilians on that fateful day. Nearly 5,000 rockets were fired. 3,000 Hamas armed fighters crossed the border, committed unspeakable atrocities, and took away people, and many of them are still in confinement. Israel has responded. Obviously, the power differential between Israel as a nation state and the Hamas as a terrorist organization was always imbalanced. It has retaliated in the same manner that the United States wiped out whatever Pakka construction existed in Afghanistan or attacked Libya. But let's also focus on what are the objectives of a nation state when it defends its people and sovereignty and borders versus what an armed terror group did.
Okay.
Did Hamas expect this kind of response? They have to answer. And one final point, Gaurav, our humanity and the concern for so many people, thousands and thousands of people dying subsequently should be most important. But there's a big question. Had the Hamas released the hostages, including the young ones among the hostages, including the women, including those who had been injured, raped, defiled, whatever else, had they released them, perhaps many thousands of lives in Gaza could have been saved.
Anisha?
That's a
So-
hypothesis.
no, but the
There's no
point is,
guarantee there.
no, but the point is, why would we want to give any leeway to a terrorist organization like Hamas, anyone across the world?
Nobody's
May
saying
I,
Okay.
may I
Why isn't the world
butt
uniting
in
to
here?
say Hamas disarm now? What Donald Trump is saying finally now.
There have been attempts to solve this Palestine-Israel issue for decades. This is
Yes.
not a new thing. Yes, the current war is 2 years old.
Yes.
The actual conflict is about 100 years old.
Sure.
Let's remember that. There have been multiple instances of attempts to sort it out. There have been multiple agreements, accords, conventions, what have you. What, however, right now you also need to remember is that when Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu sit down and say Hamas must disarm, they're not even talking to the Palestinian Authority. The so-called government of Palestine that was
They're not in the
created
room.
for the civilians to help the people to actually run a government, they're not even talking to them. Who exactly are Trump and Netanyahu coming to an agreement with? Hamas, let's face it, is a terrorist organization.
Why have
The
you
people-
undermined the Palestinian Authority?
That's exactly what I'm saying. You are not talking to the Palestinian Authority. You are not talking about the civilians. You are actively stopping any and all humanitarian aid from entering. You are actively stopping the flotillas which are carrying medicine and food for children from entering the place. Are you seriously telling me that by creating this kind of absolute horror and violence, you expect that whoever is left standing in that devastated, bombed out crater will want to go for peace with you? Does that really actually work?
So,
Does
Yasha?
anybody
So
expect
there
that
are
to
no
happen?
two ways as far as the trust deficit is concerned, and it is on both sides, needless to say. There are again no two ways about the fact that this is a conflict that is not 2 years old. It actually ranges into hundreds of years, and that is where the problem primarily stems from. But again, we are talking today on the 7th of October, and I'm sure all of us had broken hearts when we saw those pictures of what happened at the music festival, and when those people were scrambling, running from one corner to the other. More than 1,200 people died, 250 hostages. Again, I want to raise the point that he did. That fact also remains that in the 2 years, the negotiations that have happened, those hostages have still not been released, and many of them have also died. And coming to your point of how the people are not being taken into account when it comes to all these negotiations that are happening, there was a 3-phase ceasefire that was announced from January 19 to March 18, 2025, this year.
Yeah.
But that failed, so much so that the civilians were happy that things have started settling down, and they had even started clearing the rubble. But
So-
that again,
I don't think
that
No,
again
the
was
point
a
is,
misfire
I don't think you're-
because-
I don't think you're making a
because
distinction
then
between
the
West
Hamas
Bank-
again
No,
coming-
so right now we're talking about Gaza,
Whole
and I
point
want
is
to
that-
sincerely.
then she's got to
No, wait.
just want to
I am talking about
conclude. I
Gaza
just
for a
want to
moment.
conclude.
Yes.
she's
That
talking
as far
about
as
West Bank.
as far as Trump's plan is concerned, needless to say, Hamas obviously has to disarm. And again, Netanyahu has made a statement saying that, with Trump's plan of rebuilding Gaza, how we will de-radicalize people, and this whole point of making it conducive for the people.
The problem
Again, the
there is
trust
also-
deficit
Can I
is
just
from
say something?
Netanyahu, and
I was
Netanyahu
in
again
shock
not
that
agreeing
I
to
was
it.
in
is
shock
not
on
backing
7th
out.
October 2023, and I've been in shock ever since, every day since then. My heart bled on the 7th of October, and every day since then it's been bleeding. Because if you don't see the visuals and if it does not hit you what's happening to children in Gaza, then there's a problem. As journalists, we have to look at what's happening on the ground. Collateral damage and the disproportionate way in which the response has been has to be accounted for.
What's the way forward, Pranay? Because, Geeta and I have also reported from there, as have many of us. What I want to understand is, if Hamas is hiding in an underground
Tunnels.
bunker, okay, using civilians as hostages,
Hospitals.
under
Where they were
hospitals,
hiding
how
weapons
does
and they were
the
hiding
Israeli
there.
security forces, how do they carry out an operation without there being collateral damage? They're actually issuing notices saying, leave this area.
Collateral
leave
damage
the-
which has led to
leave
the
this-
biggest
Gaurav,
humanitarian
they are not-
crisis.
no,
Yeah.
they might say leave this area, they're not allowing them to leave.
Okay.
They're
you
not
have-
allowing
you have
people to
leaflets-
leave.
leaflets-
You're not
Stop,
allowing
you
people
have
to leave
children
where,
being shot
where
at.
young children don't have food to eat. You
You
created a
shut the
famine.
gates.
You've shut the gates, you created a famine, and
You're
yes, what
mean
happened on
Shooting
7th
people.
October was terrible. And
It is
I till
terrible.
date, it
It's
gives me
the worst
goosebumps too.
thing.
I still remember that picture of that young girl who was pulled away on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
It still gives me I think most of us.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
But, the rest of, there are so many people who might call it bleeding hearts, but with what Geeta said,
But Preeti,
if you do
for
not,
long,
if you do
Gaza
not
has remained an
accept
open
it,
prison. This is the irony. This
how
has
are we
remained
then? Exactly.
So
therefore,
who's interested in solving the problem? Is it the Gaza peace
One
plan
second.
is only...
Pranay, all I'm
yeah.
talking about is in the last 2 years, if any of us is going to sit here and defend what is going on right now in Gaza, whether you call it bleeding heart or inhuman, this is genocide.
So
This
we are
is
trying
genocide.
to figure out.
Please accept it.
We are trying to figure out a way forward. Is everyone on the same page here? At least that Hamas needs to go. Terror cannot be a road to solution.
Absolutely.
Whether it's Hamas,
Absolutely.
Hamas there or Lashkar-e-Taiba here.
I would
Okay.
My point is
agree
different
with
that
what
if
you're
you are looking at a long-term solution, are we looking at a long-term solution, or with this Gaza peace plan, are we going to get a long-term solution? Nobody has an
not
answer
at all.
because, look, you might have, like PIJ is already there. Palestine Islamic Jihad is already there. And there are many other organizations which still exist within the same community. How are you going to make that distinction? Nobody knows. Because it is so intertwined, it is so there that Hamas tomorrow, it might crop up because the same organization. It was
Hamas
PLO.
under another name.
Look, Gaurav, it was PLO. It used to be Yasser Arafat.
Yes.
Palestine Liberation Organization. They formed a political party. It became Fatah. Then someone, for their own political reasons, they propped up Hamas. Now Hamas became a villain.
Not
now they
someone.
want to.
There are
It's
so
a
many-
Benjamin
there's
Netanyahu.
Benjamin
absolute
Netanyahu.
clarity
Benjamin Netanyahu.
on
For
Yes.
political reason. They
No, the
created it.
political reason
So-
was to undermine the
Fatah.
Palestine
They want
Authority.
Look, it's the
Mahmoud
state,
Abbas, Abu Mazen.
state and non-state actors, the way the state play this game, then truth has always remained a casualty on a battlefield. See how they are peddling their narrative. Nobody knows, but is anyone seriously interested? I don't see a hope unless there is a proper representation. See the Arab world, how are they behaving? Look, the kind of pressure which was created on Benjamin Netanyahu to say sorry to Qatar, did they create similar kind of pressure for Benjamin
That's
Netanyahu to
America.
say
What
But
explains
America's
that,
complicit.
Maria,
There's a
in
difference.
your view?
But
Let
America's
me bring in
complicit.
Maria also and Preeti into this conversation. What explains the Arab world also unable or unwilling to put pressure on Israel when it comes to its actions in Gaza?
It is known Arab hypocrisy. I mean, it's not happening for the first time. They haven't done so for the longest time. They know that they can be the peacemakers, but the Arab world has chosen this path because there was that deal which was almost on the verge of signing, the Saudi-Israel deal, which
Yeah.
did not really go through because of this war which started. I think the entire spotlight has to be on those 2.2 million people who are facing disease,
Yes.
facing famine, facing hunger amidst this entire destruction.
So-
and the entire world has to come together for this. Gaza peace plan should be given a chance. We do not know long term how it will be playing out,
Sure.
but whatever, peace has to be given a chance for the sake of the children of Gaza.
In fact, Preeti, right now when you look at the way this crisis is unfolding or an effort to find a solution is being sought, step one, Hamas has to go. Everyone's on the same page on that.
course.
We're all on the same page on that.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think there's a debate.
No, everyone's on the same page. Very, very happening.
There is, however, a but.
Okay.
And a however.
Yes.
Hamas must go.
Yes.
Clearly.
Disarm, go, leave Gaza.
Disarm, go, leave Gaza.
But how do you
at the
de-radicalize
same
the
time-
elements who may crop up under
No,
some
I'm
name,
not even
like
talking
Lashkar-e-Taiba?
I'm
No,
not
I
even
know
talking
because
about that right
you know
now.
Lashkar-e-Taiba came up as the resistance front. So
But
Hamas
so
will come
should
up with some
Israel
secular
withdraw.
sounding
Should
name.
Israel
So should
withdraw?
Israel withdraw.
Because when you're talking about the Trump
So should we
Netanyahu
look at
peace plan-
statehood for Palestine?
Okay.
And unless there is statehood, there is going to be no equality. It's always going to be Israel above Palestine.
So
we've
there should be
got
two
thi-
clear states
and we've
living in
got
harmony
this
with each
debate
other
going on
without
for
terror, which is
years,
India's
for-
stated position.
For decades, we've seen, and you may have whatever view you have of the international community and of the UN. You have an ICJ the International Court of Justice saying
Yes.
that Israel has been illegally occupying territory that it has no business occupying after the Oslo Accord.
Sure, but
You have a
Israel had
Netanyahu-
actually released all that territory, had moved
But
out
they're
of
back there
Gaza.
now, no?
It moved out of Gaza, lock, stock and barrel. Hamas
when?
took over.
This is a
Hamas
great
took over.
narrative.
Israel withdrew from that
This
territory.
is a great
Because of their
narrative,
It is the
own
truth.
Sanet,
How is it a narrative?
because,
They withdrew from the territory.
Withdrawing from the territory and having control over exit and entry are very, different things. If Israel still controlled the exit and entry and Gazans were dependent on Israel to see whether they can leave or not, they'd say Egypt was open, but hardly. Everything was
But
controlled.
Egypt also has
and-
so many restrictions on people from
Exactly,
Palestine
but
coming
because,
in.
Because
So then
there
can you
was...
go back
so
to
do
the
Jordan
international
has.
Yes,
democracy
so does
also?
Jordan.
Because they do
And
not
perhaps
want refugees
this
anymore.
is also something
But
that
aside,
Palestinians
if the exit
will have
and
to think
entry
about.
are controlled, what happened in
Palestinians will also have to
2005
think
and
about why is it that
2008?
even
Palestinians
Egypt and
aren't
Jordan
allowed
don't want
After
them.
Hamas was
Gaurav, that is the
elected,
problem.
Gaurav, we
there
can't
was
even
a
discount the fact
blockade.
that Israel has an existential threat there. So that the country has always
Of
remained
course,
in
of
existential
course,
threat.
of
And
course.
Hamas has always
Because if you
fired.
keep doing
Look,
this,
look,
you will always
Preeti,
be
an
under
existential
threat.
threat, so Israel will
Pranay,
do whatever
if you
it takes
keep
to keep
doing
itself
what
safe.
Israel does to Palestine,
That is
there
what
will always be
Pranay
existential.
seems to indicate.
The irony runs so deep because Israel and the Jews have gone through so much to turn around and what's happening right now, I think, is a writ on the wall. But Gaurav, like I said, I don't want to get into it. It's a conversation you don't want to have because if it is humanitarian, we're rolling out the red carpet for the foreign minister of...
Okay. Taliban is a
who
debate we'll have another time.
No,
Today
we
it's
must have
purely
it. We must have it.
we will have
We will.
another
We
Democratic
should.
room on Democratic Newsroom on that with Preeti moderating that very soon. But
Hopefully
this is
you taking the side
Oh,
of
I
the
will-
women of Afghanistan.
I will always take the side of whatever keeps my country safe and Indian interests supreme. I'm very clear about that.
He's acting like the Arab world.
No, I am acting as somebody. I want to look after my
Arab
country's
hypocrisy.
interests. My country's interests are
That's
supreme
exactly what
as far as I am
That's
concerned.
exactly
exactly
every
every
Arab
country.
country
We
did.
bombed us.
India
during
first.
the Gaza war.
India first and Indian interests supreme. That is all I can
That's
say. That's
exactly what
all
the Arab world
we
did.
have for you on this Democratic Newsroom. Great conversation. We'll be back with lots more. Many thanks for watching. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.